The iPhone 18 Pro Max is bringing a variable aperture camera system. That might sound technical, but here's why it matters. Every iPhone Pro since the iPhone 14 Pro has used the exact same fixed aperture. The lens stays wide open all the time. You have zero control over how much light hits the sensor. The iPhone 18 Pro Max changes that entirely. For the first time, the camera will physically adjust its aperture, just like a professional DSLR. More light in dark scenes, less light in bright ones. Real depth of field control without faking it in software. This is the kind of upgrade that actually changes the photos you take every single day. But the camera is not even the biggest story here. The A20 Pro chip inside this phone is built on a brand new 2nm process. That is an entire generation ahead of the 3nm chips powering every flagship smartphone on the market right now, including the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra and the Google Pixel 11 Pro. Early estimates point to roughly 15% faster performance and up to 30% better power efficiency. In real-world terms, that means smoother multitasking, faster video exports for creators, and games running at higher frame rates without the phone getting hot. An expected starting price? $1,199. The same as the iPhone 17 Pro Max. If that holds, this could be one of the best value flagship investments Apple has offered in years. Now let me break down exactly what is changing and who should actually consider buying this. The design of the iPhone 18 Pro Max will look familiar at first glance. Same 6.9-inch display, same premium build. But look closer and you will notice something different at the top of the screen. The dynamic island is getting smaller. Apple is moving at least one Face ID component under the display, which shrinks that black cutout you have been staring at for 3 years. Early mock-ups suggest it could be reduced by almost 50%. That gives you more usable screen space for videos, games, and content. It is not an all-screen design yet, but it is the closest Apple has ever come. The back of the phone is also getting a subtle but important change. Apple is ditching the two-tone look from the iPhone 17 Pro and going for a more unified finish between the glass and the aluminum frame. New color options include light blue, dark gray, silver, and a brand new dark cherry finish that early dummy models suggest could be the breakout color of the year. Here is where things get very interesting. That A20 Pro chip is not just a speed bump. It is Apple's first mobile processor built on TSMC's 2nm process. The shift from 3nm to 2nm is a generational leap in transistor density. More transistors packed into less space means more calculations per watt of power. Apple is also moving to a new packaging technology called WMCM, wafer-level multi-chip module. Instead of connecting the memory to the processor through a separate layer, the RAM sits directly on the same wafer. That reduces latency, cuts power draw, and improves thermal management. For anyone editing 4K video on the go, running advanced AI features, or playing graphics-intensive games, this architecture change matters more than any clock speed number on a spec sheet. And the competition is not even close right now. Qualcomm and MediaTek are planning to move to 2nm later, but Apple has secured early access to TSMC's production capacity. That means when the iPhone 18 Pro Max launches in September, it will be the only flagship smartphone shipping with true 2nm silicon. The Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra and Google Pixel 11 Pro are still running on 3nm chips. That gap in efficiency is something you will feel every single day in battery life and sustained performance. Most buyers comparing specs are completely missing this one detail that could make or break this purchase. Battery life. The iPhone 18 Pro Max is expected to pack a battery between 5,100 and 5,200 mAh. That is a modest step up from the iPhone 17 Pro Max. But here is the thing. The real battery story is not the cell size. It is the chip. Combine a slightly larger battery with 30% better power efficiency from the A20 Pro and Apple's new C2 modem that draws less power on cellular connections, and you are looking at a phone that could genuinely last a full 2-day cycle under moderate use. That is not marketing fluff. Supply chain analysts are calling this the lunch. Best lasting iPhone ever. For professionals, travelers, and power users who are tired of hunting for outlets by dinner time, that alone could justify the upgrade. Speaking of the C2 modem, this is Apple's second-generation in-house 5G chip. It replaces the Qualcomm modems Apple has relied on for years. The C2 adds mmWave 5G support, improves signal efficiency, and a new privacy feature called Limit Precise Location that restricts how much location data your carrier can pull from your phone. There are also reports that the C2 could enable full satellite-based data connectivity, not just emergency SOS, but actual internet access in areas with no cell signal. If that ships, it could be a game changer for anyone in rural areas across the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. The benchmark numbers look impressive on paper, but here's what real-world use actually reveals. And the results are not what most people expect. The camera. Bloomberg reported that the iPhone 18 Pro's camera upgrades could be some of the biggest camera hardware upgrades in the lineup's history. The variable aperture system will cost Apple 50% more per unit than the current fixed lens module. That is a massive increase in component costs that Apple is choosing to absorb rather than pass on to consumers, at least based on current pricing estimates. The system uses tiny mechanical blades to physically adjust the aperture opening. In low light, it opens wider to capture more photons. In bright daylight, it narrows to prevent overexposure. The result is more naturally exposed photos, better dynamic range, and real optical background blur, not the computational version you get from portrait mode today. Samsung tried variable aperture back with the Galaxy S9 in 2018. It was limited and inconsistent. Apple has spent years refining this technology with suppliers like LG Initech and Sunny Optical. Production is already underway. The rest of the camera system carries over with 348 megapixel sensors, 8x telephoto zoom, and macro support. But the variable aperture on the main lens is the headline. For photography enthusiasts, content creators, and anyone who posts regularly to social media, this is the single biggest reason to consider the iPhone 18 Pro Max over anything else on the market right now. So after looking at everything, the performance, the price, the competition, here is who should actually buy this right now. And here is who should definitely wait. If you're on an iPhone 14 Pro Max or older, this is a clear upgrade. You are jumping 3 generations of chip improvements, gaining variable aperture photography, a significantly better battery, a smaller dynamic island, and Apple's first in-house pro-grade modem. At $1,199, the cost per year of ownership over a 3-year cycle works out to roughly $400 a year, or about $33 a month. For a device you use 8 to 10 hours a day, that math makes sense as a long-term investment. If you're on an iPhone 15 Pro Max, the upgrade is meaningful but not urgent. You're still on a strong device. But the jump to 2nm processing, the variable aperture camera, and the efficiency gained from the C2 modem are real. If photography or battery life are pain points for you, this is a smart purchase. If you are currently on an iPhone 16 Pro Max or iPhone 17 Pro Max, wait. You are already on a very capable device. The improvements here are genuine, but they're not dramatic enough to justify spending $1,199 after just 1 or 2 years. The smarter play is to hold until the iPhone 19 Pro Max in 2027, when Apple is expected to push even further with under-display cameras and a potential full redesign. For professionals and creators who depend on their phone for content creation, client work, or demanding workflows, the iPhone 18 Pro Max is a no-brainer. The combination of the A20 Pro chip, variable aperture camera, and all-day plus battery life makes it the best smartphone for professional workflow in 2026. period. For gamers, the sustained performance from the 2 nanometer chip and improved thermal management means fewer frame drops during long sessions. If gaming performance matters to you, this is the best value flagship on the market. For casual users who mostly browse, stream, and text, this phone is probably more than you need. A discounted iPhone 17 Pro Max later this summer will still deliver an excellent premium experience at a lower price. One more thing before you make your final decision. Xiaomi, Apple's first foldable iPhone, is launching at the same event in September. It could start at $1,999 or higher. If that device interests you at all, you may want to see both options side by side before committing. We are breaking down the full comparison between the iPhone 18 Pro Max and the iPhone Fold as soon as more details are confirmed, and that one is going to change the conversation entirely.